Hello everyone, welcome to Omics Odyssey. I am Anisur Rahman, your guide on this journey through the fascinating world of omics data analysis. Let's explore together. In this channel, I will create tutorials on various omics data analysis like genomics, transcriptomics, metagenomics, epigenomics, proteomics, etc. I will try to explain the commands and codes as well as background on various topics. I will also create playlist on each topic, so stay tuned and let's learn bioinformatics. The initial hurdle to kickstart your journey in bioinformatics or computational biology analysis lies in configuring your PC effectively. In this video, I will walk you through each step, guiding you on how to set up your computer seamlessly and install various essential bioinformatics software. Before starting the setup process, let's understand some basic concepts for absolute beginners. Let's say you want to start learning bioinformatics. Which skill you should learn first? Okay, the minimal skills you should start learning are command line, which means Linux, then Python and R. After getting used to these skills, you will eventually understand where to go and what to do. Sometimes people also ask which kind of PC configuration is required for bioinformatics analysis. The simple answer is the more the better, because next generation sequencing data analysis requires a lot of RAM and CPU power as well as storage capacity. On the other hand, some analysis like molecular dynamic simulation also require graphics card support. Now, maybe you are thinking, okay, my PC configuration is not that good and I can't buy a new one. So maybe bioinformatics is not my kind of thing. Please don't lose your hope just yet. I started my bioinformatics journey with a 4 CPU laptop along with only 4 GB RAM and minimal hard disk space. Yes, it was quite slow. But the fact is, right now you don't need a high performance computer. In the beginning, you will learn basic commands and use small datasets for practice. So don't let your PC configuration be a barrier on the path of your fascinating journey of bioinformatics. And if you want to upgrade your existing PC, then you can try to increase the RAM as much as possible, plus can add an extra SSD. The next question can be which operating system is required for bioinformatics analysis. Most of the free and obviously good bioinformatics softwares or tools are available in command line. If you don't know what is command line, don't worry, I'll be discussing about command line within a minute. So, to access the command line, you will require Linux. Nowadays, Windows support Linux as Windows subsystem for Linux or WSL. On the other hand, MacOS support Linux or Unix codes natively, or you can install a Linux based operating system. So ultimately you will use Unix or Linux codes along with Python and R. Now if you have Windows, you may ask how I can set up my Linux on my PC. As each of you has different kinds of PC, it's beyond the scope of this video to show the Linux installation process which is applicable for everyone. Here, I will discuss the possible options and mention some very important recommendations. So, watch this part of the video very carefully. The first option is already I mentioned, Windows subsystem for Linux. Latest Windows versions support this functionality properly. In this case, you don't need to install Linux operating system separately. You just have to activate the WSL1 or WSL2 in your system. Immediately, you will get the Linux terminal to write command line codes. It is better if you are a beginner and don't want to mess up with your computer settings. You can check whether your computer supports WSL or not. The next option is VirtualBox. It's like using one operating system inside another. In this case, you can install a Linux operating system inside Windows comparatively easily. But the problem is that the new operating system will share RAM and processor from Windows. So, if your PC has low configuration, then both Windows and Linux will be very slow and laggy. The last option is dual boot or multiple boot. That means there will be more than one operating system in your PC, but you will use only one at a time. When you start your computer, there will be options to choose between Windows or Linux. In my opinion, it's the best option. You can use either OS as per your need, but it's comparatively tough to set dual boot because in this case you have to split your storage, SSD or hard disks to install Linux. Then you have to configure your BIOS, which is quite scary sometimes. Out there on YouTube, you will find tons of videos on setting dual boot easily, but all of them may not be applicable to your PC because computer manufacturers change the technology of their product very frequently. Now, if you have decided to install Linux in dual boot, please follow these recommendations carefully. First of all, please don't forget to backup your data. For dual boot, you have to access your hard disks and BIOS. If anything goes wrong, your SSD and hard disk can get wiped out. So, backup everything in an alternative space. Nowadays, Windows computers seem to have BitLocker encryption in the drives. If your computer has BitLocker encryption on, either turn it off or keep the BitLocker keys accessible by your mobile or other PC. And when you check for the tutorials on YouTube, search with your PC brand name and model. Please first watch the tutorial without starting the setup process. Check whether that particular video is compatible with your PC's BIOS setting. Then start the setup process. So, okay, good luck with your Linux installation process. Choose whichever option is suitable for your case, and when you are done with Linux installation, you can follow the next steps of the video. On the other hand, if you have macOS, you don't have to do anything now. You just can proceed to the next part. Up to this point, I have been saying Unix or Linux. Are they the same? No, there are some technical differences between Unix and Linux. Though for non-techie people like us, both can be used interchangeably. So throughout all my tutorials, if I use the words Linux or Unix, I will mean Linux in general terms. So Linux is an open source operating system kernel. Here the term kernel can be compared with the engine of a car. It's the base of the operating system. Linux kernel was developed by Linus Torvalds and released in 1991. I am a huge fan of this person. On top of this kernel, different kinds of Linux OS have been developed. In Linux language, operating systems are called distribution or distro. The most common distros are Ubuntu, Linux Mint, Debian, Arch Linux, Kali Linux, etc. etc. Each of these distros has its own specialty. For all of my videos, I will use Ubuntu or maybe sometimes Linux Mint. While working in the area of bioinformatics, you will face the following terms like command line, terminal, shell. You may get very confused. What are those terms? What are the differences? Yes, from a very technical perspective, there are some explanation for each term. But to keep things simple, all those terms can be referred to this particular interface. We will write and run most of our codes in this interface. But it is important to have some idea about shell. A shell is a command line interface, which I showed you earlier, that allows us to interact with the operating system by typing commands. It also provides a set of commands, syntax, and features to work with files and directories, plus doing some scripting also. Examples of some common shells are Bourne shell, Corn shell, Born again shell, and Jet shell. We will use Bash for all of our coding, and by default macOS has Jet shell. I will show you how to change that to Bash shell. You can use Linux, Unix, command line, and shell interchangeably. It's just okay. Let's talk about Conda. Conda is an open source package and environment management system. Here, the word package means the software or tools that we are going to use, and I will talk about environment a bit later. It is cross-platform, which means we can use Conda in Windows, Linux, Mac OS simultaneously, and also we can use it in the command line. This tool allows us to quickly and easily install, run, and update packages and their dependencies. We can also easily create, activate, and switch between environments on our personal computers. Here you can see Conda is actually part of Anaconda, and Miniconda is the minimal version of it. Normally, if you install Miniconda, you will get Conda by default. Now let's understand the idea of Conda environment. The concept is same as virtual environment in Python. Let's say this is your PC and you have installed Conda in it. Now you may want to use your PC for several purposes, like some bioinformatics tasks, for example mapping, where you will need Python 3, BioPython, or some mapping software. For another project, you will do RNA-seq and want to install some R packages. Or you may also work on an old project that require Python version 2 and some weird packages as dependencies. And sometimes you do also machine learning with latest Python version and so on. While working with several kinds of packages, sometimes you face situations where one package version is not compatible with another. For example, here you can see that you need 3 different versions of Python at the same time. You can't just install one version and then uninstall it to install another version. It's just not practical. On the other hand, installing some weird packages can mess up your whole system. That can be a bigger problem. To solve those problems, by using Conda, you can create environments totally isolated from the main system files of your computer and install the required packages. In this case, each environment is also completely isolated from the other. If you face any problem with a particular package, you can just delete the whole environment. It will not affect the other environment or your system files. Next comes Mamba, which is a Python-based CLI or command line interface replacement for Conda. While Conda offers several advantages in terms of managing packages and environments, but it is very slow. On the other hand, Mamba is comparatively quite faster. We are actually going to use Micro Mamba, which is just C++ version of Mamba. Normally, C++ based softwares are faster than Python based ones. We can run almost all Conda commands by Micro Mamba. It's getting scary, right? Don't worry, I will guide you through this snake island. So enough talking. Let's start with actual setup process. At this point, I am assuming you have successfully installed Linux on your PC Now we will configure it for bioinformatics. At first, let me show you the interface of Ubuntu OS. This is the application menu where you can browse or search for application. You can access all of your files from this files icon. This is home folder and all of your data are stored under this folder. It is somewhat like C drive in Windows. If you want to access other drives, click on other locations. Here you will find all of your drives of your storage disk. Okay. Now, how to access the terminal? To access the terminal, you can use either the shortcut key Ctrl+Alt+T, or you can click on the application menu, then type terminal in your application and click on it. This is the terminal or command line interface where you will write most of your codes. You can zoom in or out terminal by using these buttons, plus or minus, or by using the shortcut key. To zoom in, use the Ctrl, Shift and plus button, and if you want to zoom out, use the key Ctrl and minus. Okay, so let me zoom in further. This part is the username, then the computer name. The next part is the location of the terminal. When you open terminal directly, it will open in the home folder. This sign is called tilde sign. In Linux, tilde sign means home folder. I'll talk about Linux basic commands in other videos. Next, the $sign and this blinking cursor, it is called command prompt. We will write our codes in the command prompt. Now let's go to my GitHub page by typing areas GitHub in Google. Click on Bioinfo PC setup repository. I will add the link to this repository in the description of the video. If you are a Mac user, then follow this step at first. Linux users don't need to run this code. By default, current Mac OS uses Z shell, but most of my instruction will be bash based. So to enable the bash shell in Mac OS, run this code in the terminal, then enter your user password and restart your terminal. If you want to go back to Z shell, then run the following command and restart your terminal. Now both Linux and Mac user can follow the next steps. Let's start with installing Micromamba. You can read the whole document to understand the codes in details. After installing Linux, your first task will be updating and upgrading your system. In Linux, updating is kind of refreshing the package index, and upgrading means installing new updates of the packages. Tips: shortcut to copy and paste in Linux terminal: Ctrl+Shift+C for copy and Ctrl+Shift+V for paste. Another tips: if you want to cancel any process in the terminal, use Ctrl+C. Now let me explain this code. Here, sudo allows us to access the system as super user or root user or administrator. apt is the package management tool for installing, updating and removing software on Linux system. Update refresh the local package index to ensure the latest information about package versions from the configured repositories. Then the double ampersand sign means we want to run two commands one after another. Next, upgrade command is used to upgrade installed package to their latest versions. Here -y is optional, but it's commonly used in automated scripts or when you want to avoid manual confirmation during upgrades. Okay, now click on this icon and copy the code. Go to the terminal and paste it by Ctrl+Shift+B or right click and paste. Now press enter to run the code. Now it is asking for your user password. It is the password you set up earlier while installing the Linux. In Ubuntu, when you type the password in terminal, it won't show anything. So type your password carefully and press enter. Based on the speed of your internet, it may take some time. When the command is successfully finished, the command prompt will be available for typing a new command. Tips: to clear your terminal, use clear command or shortcut key Ctrl+L. Now let's install curl. This is a command line tool for downloading content. Currently Ubuntu doesn't contain curl by default, so we have to install it. Here install command is used in apt tool to install a package. Okay, copy the code, paste in the terminal and run it. My system already contains this tool. Next, copy this command to make a backup copy of your .bashrc file. The .bashrc file is an important file for your system to run properly. When we install Micromamba, it will make some changes in this file for its functionality. So it is always better to make a backup copy. Paste the command in the terminal and run it. The next part is installing Micromamba directly. Copy this command and paste it in the terminal. At first, it is asking where to create the binary folder. We will use the default location, so you don't have to type anything, just press enter. Next, it is asking for permission to initiate the bash shell. Type Y and press enter. Configured Conda ports. Type Y and press enter. Next, prefix location. The default location is OK, so we don't have to type anything, just press enter. Now the installation process is successful. Restart the terminal to complete the setup process. In case you want to remove the Micromamba from your PC, I have added the instruction in this document. You can follow this instruction to remove Micromamba completely. The next step is creating a bash profile. To make the terminal more user-friendly and function consistently, we will create a custom profile file. The original file was created by BioStar Handbook, so we save the file as their file name biostar.sh. Here I have added the link to the BioStar Handbook. I highly recommend this book. It is a very good book for the beginner to start bioinformatics learning. Here all the content between this EOF and this UF will be saved in the .biostar.sh file. Copy the whole code, paste in the terminal and hit enter. Now we have to link the biostar.sh file with the .bashrc file. To do that, copy this code and paste it in the terminal and hit enter. Now restart your terminal to refresh the changes. You can see the command prompt is now in the second line. Now the step is installing bioinformatics software. At first, rearrange the Conda channel priority. Anaconda has different kinds of repositories where programmers deposit their packages. Conda Forge is such kind of channel which provides stable packages for a wide range of software. On the other hand, Bioconda has mainly bioinformatics related packages. Most of these packages are also available in Conda Forge. Now let's set up the channel priority. Conda Forge will be on top and then Bioconda. Thus, when we try to install a package without specifying the channel name, it will try to install from Conda Forge at first. Okay, let's run these commands one by one. First, copy this command and paste it here. Copy this command and paste it here. Now, as we have already installed Micromamba, let's run Micromamba activate. We are now in Micromamba base environment. To get out of Micromamba, use Micromamba deactivate. We can also install packages in the base environment. But it is always better to create a separate environment for a specific purpose. Let's create an environment with the name Bioinfo. You can give any name. In this environment, we will install some Bioinfo related packages. At first, activate Micromamba again. Now let me explain this code. Here, Micromamba is the main command. Any Micromamba related command will start with Micromamba. Then this create subcommand is used for creating new environment. This -n is the option for the name and Bioinfo is our environment name. We will also install Python version 3.10 at the same time. Here this star mark after 3.10 means anything after 3.10. I will create another video explaining Micromamba commands in details. Next, -y you already know, we are giving permission in advance. Copy this code, paste and press enter to run the code. You can see we have created an environment with the name Bioinfo. Let's activate the Bioinfo environment by typing Micromamba activate Bioinfo. Here on the top of the username, you can see that we have activated the Bioinfo environment. Just clear the terminal by pressing Ctrl+L. Important note: before installing packages, don't forget to activate your target environment. Okay, now let's install some bioinformatics software inside this Bioinfo environment. We can install a single software or more than one software if we want. Let's start with FastQC. FastQC is used to check quality of next generation sequencing data. Copy this command and run the terminal. Now it is asking for permission. Type Y and press enter. FastQC is now installed inside Bioinfo environment. If you want to install more than one package of softwares, you can do that too. For example, now we will install Trigonometric and FastP package together. Both of these packages are used to do quality control on sequencing data. Copy the code, paste in the terminal and hit enter. Type Y and we can even install many packages together. All we have to do, just save the package names as a list in a text file. Just keep in mind to write only one package per line. Here we are going to do exactly the same thing. We will save all the package names in the tools.txt file under home folder. Copy the whole code, paste in the terminal. We have created a text file from the terminal. Now copy this code and run in the terminal. This time we are using -y. So we don't have to give manual confirmation for installing the tools. Here it will take all software names from this tools.txt file and install them one by one. This is kind of an automation process. Okay, paste the code in the terminal and press enter. It can take some time based on the speed of your internet. Now, whenever you want to use these packages, you have to activate the Bioinfo environment first. Then you can use any tool inside this environment. So, I hope you have understood how to create the environment and install packages inside it in Micromamba. In the upcoming videos, we will use these tools or softwares to do different kind of bioinformatics analysis. Before we sign off, I encourage you to share your thoughts and ideas in the comments below. As I wrap up today's video, remember to stay curious, stay inspired, and keep exploring the wonders of bioinformatics. Until next time, take care and see you in the next adventure.